Welcome to Stories from the Center of the Universe, the podcast about the human experience.
Rob Owens, welcome to the Center of the Universe.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thanks for having me, Paul. I appreciate it.
Flip Wilson, man.
What's happening?
What's up?
Long time no speak.
I think you were on Kevin's sports podcast. Kevin, what's it called again?
That Flippen Sports Podcast. And you have to say it like that.
And I think we said Rob, and I don't want to offend anybody, was probably our best guest to date.
You just saying that, man. Hey, I'm flattered.
I don't say that to everybody, Rob.
No, Rob, you definitely are good in that arena.
It was a fun show, man. We hit on some nice topics, and I just told people it was talking to the fellas. I mean, basically.
And that's all we're doing tonight.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man. I enjoy it.
Rob, so you, Kevin, and I, how did you and Kevin meet? Let's start there.
Kevin and I met through hoops.
Yeah.
I don't remember the year, Flip, so I mean, I apologize for that. I know it's been a long time, but we met playing basketball.
I'd guess 93 or 4-ish.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Be my guess.
Yeah, sounds about right. You know, we played a little pickup balls. We ran into each other a lot, you know, in our respective circles playing basketball, and just kind of hit it off, man. I mean, he's one of those dudes where you're like, who's this cat, man? He ain't got no game. I mean, look at him, man. I mean, come on, man. And then you play with him, and you're like, wow, this dude has some game. And then off the court, we had a chance to spend some time together. And, I mean, he's my man. I love Flip. We've been boys ever since. That was an easy connection.
That was almost 30 years ago. Y'all are saying
it's a long, yeah. It's been about 30 years, man.
Yeah, thank you, Rob, for confirming the whole I'm a goofy white dude, so I'm going to check that guy.
Well,
I've been telling
but see,
my whole life that's what
we got to paint the picture. Got to paint the picture, Flip. Back in the day, you wore them thick glasses, man. Right? Remember that?
Yeah.
Almost like goggles.
How could I forget it? Look,
and
right there.
Tall and lanky. I'm like, man, come on, man, really. But Flip came out guns blazing, man. You know what, Paul? You played with Flip, and you know how he rolls, man. Guns blazing.
The glasses, the fact that he weighed $145 with
soaking wet. Soaking wet.
Yeah, and I mean, but he has a walk, a gait like he knows what he's doing.
Oh yeah. Flip has some hops. He had a gait like he had some bounce. He had some bounce back in the day.
A little bit.
No, you had hops.
Not like you though. And this podcast ain't about me. It's about you. And
all right,
man. You're the one, and I said it the other day in the other podcast that you're one of those guys, one of those athletes that has like that, like you're on your tiptoes. Like you don't walk on your tiptoes, but when you're playing and you're jumping, it looks like you're already on your tiptoes to jump. You jump quick. And I've seen you rise up on tons of dudes that maybe even could jump higher than you. I don't know, but it's the way you did it.
I doubt it.
Over top
hey, Flip, I doubt it.
Huh?
I doubt it.
No,
I had bounce, man. I had fast twitch muscles, Paul. So, I mean, I used to get off the floor quickly. And, I mean, I got up. I think I had my vertical measured back in high school was like 39 inches back then.
Woo! Come on,
kangaroo. And so, but I think when I was in my early 20s, I was in peak athletic shape.
Yeah.
So I was pogo sticking at that point. You know, it's crazy.
What's the opposite of fast twitch? Slow
you tell
twitch.
me.
That's what I had. I think I got up to 12 inches at my peak.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. I have no idea. It was so low that nobody cared to measure it.
Gilman has a high basketball IQ though.
Oh, absolutely.
And that makes up for the lack of a jumping ability.
I'm a very poor man's joker.
I think we played ball before, haven't we, Paul? Didn't we ball a few times back in the day?
We did a few times, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I love basketball until stuff started hurting for me.
Well, that's what happened to me, man. I didn't know when to put it down, and it took pretty severe injury to put me down. So, sometimes it's what it takes.
What'd you injure?
Cracked my leg up in 3 places. Below the knee, around the ankle, and I've got a pin in my ankle now, a metal rod. So that was I did it good, man.
Playing
Did it good.
basketball.
Playing basketball, playing pickup ball outside. I went to the basket late in the game. Two guys came from each side of me and hit me across the chest and knocked me back. And I tried to break my fall, and my leg just kind of pogo sticked.
Mm.
And that's all she wrote. So,
were you in so much pain you were in shock?
no, I actually tore up ligaments and nerves. So I didn't feel it. You know, I really wasn't in any pain. I just knew it was bad. You could hear it crunch when it happened. And so at that point, I knew it was serious. So
did the ambulance come?
No. I was probably 20 minutes from home when it happened. So I called Darlene, and she called one of her best friends' husband to come get me because he knew where I was at, knew where I was playing at. He came and picked me up, and they took me to the hospital, and I had 3 surgeries after that. And, you know, that was
wow. You weren't in pain at all during that time?
No, because I had nerve damage. I mean, the nerves were shot. I mean, now if that hadn't happened, I would have probably been in agony all night. But
yeah,
it was crazy, man.
That's a freak injury.
Freak injury. 2003 is when that happened.
Man, it's a long time ago.
2003.
Your anniversary.
Yep. So.
And you haven't played since?
I played a few times after that, but it took me too long to recuperate after playing. It took me 2 weeks to get my knees back, and so I figured, man, it's not even worth it. I got to go to work the next day. Why put myself through all this agony? That's why I play golf.
Yeah, I was going to say, he put the basketball down and pick up the golf club.
That's what I do, man. That's what I love to do now.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
you play that into your 70s, right?
Hopefully even older than that. My father-in-law is 80. He'll be 88, and he was on our golf trip last year. Still hitting them, man. So hopefully I can play it until the man above takes me away.
Yeah, I heard a story a few weeks ago, not told to me directly. I got this indirectly. 103-year-old World War II veteran said, "Yeah, I'm slowing down. I'm only playing 9 holes a day now."
Wow. So we have no excuse.
Yeah, right.
We have no excuse.
Absolutely. All right, Rob, you grew up in Northern Virginia. Specifically, what part of Nova did you grow up in?
So I grew up in Alexandria. That was a mailing address. Fairfax County was a county I grew up in, but I grew up in Franconia area. I went to Thomas Edison High School back in the day. We were in the same conference as Hayfield, West Potomac. We played T.C. Williams every year. A lot of people don't know that. So funny story. Remember the Titans, the movie? So that was one of our arch rivals, T.C. Williams. And the Coach Boone's daughter, I actually graduated with her.
In your high school?
She went to my high school. We graduated in the same class.
So did you meet him?
No, not that I know of. I mean, I didn't realize until after the fact that was her.
Mm.
You know, when the movie came out, I kind of put 2 and 2 together. But yeah, I went to school with her. Real nice girl.
Yeah, T.C. Williams. Sorry, go ahead, Rob. Finish your thought.
No, I was finished with that.
Yeah, T.C. Williams. I actually was in a Army National Guard unit near there, and I've run on that track. This is back in the early 2000s. They didn't have lights for their football field.
No, they played day games.
Yeah, apparently they didn't get lights until like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, they played day games because, you know, TC was, you know, they like to throw hands, putting it politely. You know, after basketball games and football games, it was always, you know, some kind of action going on. So I think they prohibited night games for a long time. So that's the reason they didn't have lights at this stadium. But,
yeah, I was hoping it was something else.
No, they like to throw hands, man.
I was hoping somebody wasn't great with the budget or something, spending money, and they just couldn't.
Well,
get
that could have been
it
it too. That could have been part of the problem as well. But no, I think it was more the trying to keep things clean and preventing fights, you know, after games and whatnot.
Was that true for other high schools in the area?
No, TC was. No, they were kind of known for, you know, having some rough dudes back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, it wasn't really a problem throughout our conference.
Right on. All right. So when you were like 10 years old, what were you doing when you weren't in school and your parents weren't telling you what to do?
I always played sports, man. I mean, when I was 10, I was playing football, I was playing baseball, basketball, running track. I mean, so I was always involved in something.
And those were the only 4 you could play back in the day, probably, right?
Yeah, because they conflicted. I mean, it was not like it is today where guys or kids play AAU year round and they commit to a certain sport. I like to play everything, and so I was busy year round.
Yeah, I mean, we're biased probably because we played a bunch of different sports growing up, but I think it's better for the kids to play multiple sports.
Oh, I do too. I mean, I can't tell you how many kids up this way that I know have played AAU ball throughout the years have gotten burned out by their junior, senior year, or if they can play college ball or whatever the sport may be, they're too burned out to even pursue it.
I think it's true of almost anything, right?
Yeah. I think kids need some balance, man. You got to test the waters.
What was your favorite out of those 4?
Oh man, that's tough. I mean, in hindsight, I probably should have played baseball because of longevity. I probably could have gotten a ride in baseball. And who knows, right? But every kid wants to play basketball, man. We would ride around. No matter what we were doing, we'd get in the car and ride, either on our bikes or when we started driving, we would drive around. If we saw a pickup basketball game, we stopped and we played. And we would do that 2-3 times a day.
Who was your guy back then? Who was you looking up to, watching all the time as one of your favorite players?
My favorite basketball player of all time was Len Bias.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Len Bias was he was it for me. And I actually had the pleasure of seeing him play one time when he was in Maryland. My uncle took me to a game, and I saw him play. And I was in attendance at another game. I think it was a high school game of some sort at Cole Fieldhouse in Maryland. And at halftime, it was wild because at one of the gymnasium, it was like there were like windows. It was a real bright sunny day, and you see this big figure come walking into the doors. I'm like, man, is this God walking into the doors? It was Len Bias.
Yeah.
Larger than life, man. The dude was awesome.
Do you remember what game you saw in Cole Fieldhouse?
I don't. I don't. It could have been Virginia. It could have been Virginia, but I'm not. I don't remember. Remember.
You remember Duke when they had Allery, Dawkins, Amaker,
Yep.
Billis, that team?
Yep.
I had a buddy whose dad was a big Maryland alum, and he had season tickets. We were like near center court, like 10 rows back, and I didn't know who Len Bias was. He was a sophomore at the time. I mean, if I had paid close attention to ACC basketball across all 8 teams, I probably would have figured out that he was a baller. But he wasn't really a shooter back then, his sophomore year. But at one point in the first half, somebody from Maryland hit the front of the rim on the front left. So it ricocheted off the pretty high on the right side of the backboard. And Len came out of nowhere, grabbed it, and I swear his head was above the rim.
Oh, it was. I'm sure it was.
Down with 2 hands, and I'm like, "What just happened?"
The dude was a freak, man. He was muscular. He was muscle bound like a bodybuilder, but had crazy hops, and he had a beautiful jump shot.
He ended up having an awesome.
He had a nice mid range game. I mean, he didn't shoot threes, but he had a nice mid range game.
This is going to sound crazy, but your game was similar to Len Bias's.
Yeah, I shot mid range. I wasn't a 3-point shooter. I shot mid range jump shots, and I went to the bucket.
Yeah.
I didn't have his build. I wish I was 6'7", 6'8", 240. That would have been nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was my idol, man. I remember the day he passed. I boo-hooed and cried, man. I mean, it hit me. It hit me.
Rob, I cried too. I was so sad that he lost his life so young. He had so much talent. He could have been an all-star for at least 15 years.
Oh, it would have changed. It would have changed the Celtics.
Oh my gosh.
Trek, no doubt. I mean, they would have been on the path of winning multiple championships.
They would have won at least 2 or 3.
Oh, absolutely.
And you know what that would have done? That probably would have pushed Larry Bird into the conversation of greatest of all time. I hate to say that, but think about that. Bird was still at the height of his, because it was the 86 Celtics, right? Didn't they
86.
somehow end up with that first pick?
I think they did, yeah.
You add Len Bias to that, so now Bird wouldn't have to carry as much of the load, and he could have won 6, 7 titles. And, Len Bias could end up winning 8. Who knows? But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's crazy,
they're
man.
talking about who's the greatest right now. I mean, that Len Bias not making it, God, that screwed a lot of people over.
And then didn't they lose?
For everybody.
Didn't they lose? What was it? Was it Reggie Brown? He passed soon after Bias.
Reggie Lewis.
Reggie Lewis.
Yep.
Yeah, he passed. Tragic, man. Celtics.
Well, he was a Dunbar kid too, right? He was Dunbar kid up there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And then Bias had a brother. I think his name was Jay. Jay was a ball player too, but Jay tragically I think he was shot and killed in some kind of an armed robbery.
Man,
like a few years after Bias died. So, I mean, that family went through a lot of tragedy, but sad, man. Sad time.
Yeah.
Speaking of Tommy Amberker went to Woodson, which is another school we played back in the day.
Yeah.
So you had a lot of ball players coming out of North Virginia back during that time.
UB Davis.
My man, shooting fool, man.
UB.
Prettiest Jay I've ever seen in person.
Yeah.
And I saw it up close and personal a few times. Trust me. Buckets.
That was his nickname, right?
I don't know what his nickname was, but he could shoot the lights out. That's all.
It was. Buckets or something like that. A question I was thinking about that I hadn't really talked to you about, even knowing you all these years. I know your dad was a police officer. Was he a police officer even when you were young?
Oh yeah, my father was. So he was law enforcement in the district in D.C. I think he was between 20 and 25 years, but he was narcotics.
How was that?
It was rough, man. I mean, back during that time, it was bad, man. The drug problem was bad, and you had a situation where it was kind of lawless, where guys didn't respect the police, you know. So it was tough, man. My mother, I God bless her. I mean, she had a husband who had to go out in the streets every night, and he was making ends meet, and doing his job, man. But it had to be tough on her, not knowing what could happen to him.
Yeah.
I didn't really think about it because at that time, at that age, you don't think about things like that.
Yeah.
I know Dad's going to work. He's working a late shift this week. In 2 weeks, he'll be working the regular shift. He's coaching my basketball team, my baseball team, whatever sport I was playing. He was always involved. So, I didn't really think of how dangerous his job was. But yeah, 20 plus years in law enforcement, narcotics. Yeah, he was in it for a long time. He actually got in an a car accident at work, and went out on disability. So that's what put an end to his career. So, and then he had a few years in the school system. He actually was a counselor in my school, at my high school, when my sister was there. And he did that for like 3-4 years. So that was right up his alley. My father loves to talk. He loves to socialize. He loves to counsel kids, and right up his alley. So, I mean, he enjoyed doing that.
He tells good stories. I'll give him that.
Yeah, you got to get him on the podcast, man. He's a riot. And I think he'd be willing to do it. I've talked to him about it. I think he's open to it.
How old is that now?
He's 74.
Oh yeah, he's young.
Yeah, 74. My parents are both young. My mother's 74 as well. So then I've got a sister who's 12 years younger.
Right on. So who's older, mom or dad?
My mother.
By
hair. Just by hair. 3 months.
Yeah, my mom is a month and a half older than my dad, and he calls her the older woman all the time.
Oh yeah. My mother robbed the cradle. She robbed
there
the
you
cradle
go.
time.
Snatched her right out of her mom's
Yeah, she did.
All right, so we'll come back to talking about your dad in a bit. Sports in school. Let's just go through the 4 sports. What positions did you play in football?
So I played both sides of the ball. I was a dual threat flipping.
Yeah,
I played running back, receiver, and a little tight end on offense, and I played a defensive end on defense.
Were you primarily a running back or a receiver?
Early on, I was a running back, but I was tall. I was tall for my age. So, I mean, as I was getting older and sprouting up a little bit, I played more receiver.
Out of those 4 positions, DN plus the 3 on offense, what was your favorite?
Probably running back. More action.
Really?
I mean, more action. I mean, back then we didn't throw the ball like that. We weren't chucking the ball all over the yard. So, I mean, receiving, you had to block. You weren't catching a lot of passes. So when you had a ball thrown to you, you had to make sure you caught it and do something with it. But no, running back was a position to play. You got all the action.
Yeah, wide receivers were the 6th, 7th, or 8th lineman kind of thing.
Absolutely. Now, I remember back on opening day, it was ankle biters. My first time ever playing football. Opening day.
Ankle biters.
And first play of the game, I broke one for 47 yards. That's my sport highlight, Flip. Not the hoop it up dunk, none of that. 47-yard touchdown, man. That was awesome.
As an ankle biter.
That's
fantastic. It's all downhill from there.
Downhill from there, man. It was no up, no. It was totally downhill from there.
Hey, Rob, I had a 70-yarder. Can you guess how I did it?
Fumble recovery.
I threw the ball.
You got to explain that to me.
What my receiver
you threw it and somebody took it to the house?
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yes, I wasn't doing 47 yards anything with my feet.
That counts.
Oh, man. All right. What about basketball?
Basketball, I was, like I said, I was tall, so I pretty much played down low. I played youth basketball, I played travel basketball, I played high school basketball. So when I got to the high school level, I was more or less playing a swing, like a swing man, like a 3-man.
Yeah, you were playing 3, and if you had to post up occasionally, you could do
If I had to post up, I'd post up. But, 3-man. We didn't have 3-point shots back then. The 3-point shot came out the year after I graduated.
Yeah, me too, man. That's so bad. I'm so angry.
So, I mean, there were a few points I probably could have gotten. I used to shoot a little bit outside, but I was pretty much playing down low.
I could have gone from averaging 6 points a game to at least 8 points with a 3-point.
That is awesome. That's awesome. You know, it's funny, man. I think back, and I'm mad at myself, man, because I wasn't aggressive as a basketball player back playing in that structured, high school environment. And the first game of the season, my senior year, I had 29 and a dunk. Shocked everybody. I surprised myself. I got the ball on a fast break, and I was going to finger roll it. And when I jumped, I just kind of flipped it over and dunked it. I mean, everybody was like, "Oh!" It was an away game, obviously. Oh, but I mean, I just wasn't aggressive. I had 29 that game. I would come back another game and have 6. And it was weird, man. The high school basketball is weird like that.
Well,
you're trying to be a team player. You don't want to get out there and hot dog it and try to shoot it 50 times a night and drop 30 a night. It just wasn't like that. And that's not my nature either. So
yeah, it's very structured. Team is definitely emphasized.
Oh, absolutely.
And yeah, I think most coaches in high schools back then were like, "You better be wide open."
Oh yeah,
to take the shot.
There was no such thing as green light. Not with our team.
You better go straight up and down for the jump shot.
Oh yeah.
Anything fading or leading was a problem for the coach.
Were you? Who was the man on your? Let's say your senior year. Were you the guy?
Yeah, I was a scorer. I was a lead scorer.
Yeah.
We had some guys we had athletes, man. I mean, we had an athletic basketball team, but we didn't necessarily know how to win. I think we won maybe 6 games, but we were in every game. We weren't getting the doors. I think Hubert blew us out. They beat us by 20, 25, but Hubert also dropped like 30 that night. So, I mean, they were beating everybody like that, but we were pretty much in every ball game. We just couldn't close it. Unfortunately, that was my senior year.
I blame the coach, but anyway.
Hey, God rest his soul, Coach Muniz. We were athletic team. We were in shape. The first week of basketball practice or tryouts, he came in the gym. He said, "Look, I know some of you guys played varsity last year. That means nothing to me. This is a brand new year. Got to show me what you got. But for the first week of practice, don't even bring basketball gear. Bring your track shoes." We worked out with the track team for the first week and the cross country team. Didn't touch a basketball. So I mean, we were the most physically fit team in our district, but it didn't equate to winning games.
Couldn't shoot a lick, but man, could you run back and forth?
I know it's funny to think of, but I've played a lot of basketball like you guys have, and I've run long distances, and that's the funny part. It's a different kind of being in shape, running back and forth, starting and stopping in basketball versus continuous running.
Oh yeah, but that was his mentality. He was a varsity football coach, or one of the coaches on the football team. So that was his mentality. I'm gonna beat the crap out of you guys in practice. I'm gonna run you until you puke, and then we'll pick up a basketball at some point and see what you got.
You're going to be the toughest team in the league, even though you may not have the most.
Toughest team, and we can run circles around teams, but we can't beat them. We'll run circles around them.
I mean, if scoring was different in basketball, maybe y'all could have gone undefeated, but
who knows, man? If I could do it all over again, I'd change some things. Trust me.
Were you one of those kids that if you missed a shot, you wouldn't shoot for a while?
No, I wouldn't say that, but I just wasn't aggressive. Like if a team was playing man, I mean, I was quick, so I could pretty much blow by anybody who was covering me, but I wouldn't take advantage of that. You know, I would pass it and try to run the offense, and you know, I was a systematic basketball player, and if I had the shot, I would take it, but I wasn't going to try to create a shot, and I could have done that, but like I said, that's not my mentality.
And a lot of kids didn't, to your point earlier, have the green light to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you had very few kids that had green lights back then. You know, so but hey, it was fun, man. I had a good time, a lot of memories, a lot of great friends. I still have, you know, great friends from that team, you know, to this day. So Dre played with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to hear about baseball.
All right, let's go to baseball. What'd you play in baseball?
So baseball, I pitched and I played third base. And I caught a little bit. I played pretty much every position, but pitching and third base were my primary positions. I was in the hot seat.
Because you had quick hands and you had a
strong quick hands. I could cover the field well, and I had a decent arm.
Did you enjoy third?
What's that?
Did you enjoy third base?
Love third base because you don't have time to think. It's all reaction. Balls hit. The ball's coming. You gotta do something with it. You got to know where to go with it. Obviously, double plays or whatever, but no time to think in the hot seat. You just got to make it happen. I love it.
What kind of pitcher were you?
Fastball, curveball.
Could you put it where you wanted?
I had good placement. I didn't play late in high school because it was too political. Team was already established. They knew who they were going to play. I didn't have time for that, man. So I didn't even really pursue it. I played basketball. You know, that was pretty much it. But I regret not playing baseball though later in high school because I could have done more with it, obviously. But
I'd love to know your thoughts back then. I imagine there was a golf team, right?
There was. Did it even cross your mind at that time? Well, Steve Lee, you know Steve. Steve played on the golf team.
Did he?
He shot $1 million, but he made the golf team because no one played golf. And we used to clown him all the time. We were clowning, man. You play golf, man. What are you doing? But hey, again, one of those things where if you could go back and do it all over again, you play golf.
We'd all be
easy scholarship.
Back then, for sure.
Back then, easy scholarship. D2, D3 easy playing golf. Shoot $1 million and you can make the golf team. You know.
All right. What about track?
Track, I ran the 400 and I dabbled in the 100, but I wasn't fast enough for the 100. It just wasn't my thing. I mean, we had guys that were running. They were fast. I'll put it to you that way.
Just over 10 kind of thing.
Yeah. So I ran the 400. You know, and Steve Lee and I were Flippen knows Steve Lee. I grew up with Steve. He's one of my childhood buddies. He goes on a golf trip with us as well, Gilman. So Flippen knows him. But Steve and I were like rival athletes growing up. You know, Steve was an athletic dude, and we used to battle a lot back in the day. Ever since we were elementary age, you know, we were kind of competing against one another. It was kind of cool, man. because I had him pushing me. I was pushing him. It was a nice little rivalry.
Did he run the 400?
Steve ran the two. I think it was a 220 then.
Huh.
I don't think it was a 200. It was a 220. I think they did 440, 220. You know, back then it wasn't. It was yardage. It was yards and not meters, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, Steve was a good athlete.
So
He was his family was he came from a running family. His brother ran, his older brothers ran, so that was really his thing.
So you played all these sports. There's two other things that I would imagine that were important to you when you were in your high school years. One being books, right? I mean, you gotta get good grades, right? And I know your dad and mom weren't going to be.
Well, you gotta maintain a C average. No, I mean, I'll admit I wasn't a straight A student by any means. I mean, I had to work. It didn't come to me like it came to other kids. You know, certain things. So I had to put in the work. But I mean, I maintained. I think I maintained a B average. I mean, I wasn't a flunky by any means.
Okay, so you got the books. The other thing, the girls. Like, when did that start becoming something that took your focus away from other things?
Hey, Rob, be careful. He's setting a trap for you.
I know where
I'm not.
Man.
No,
I'm not falling for this.
I would not. By the way, I would not ask you a question that I wouldn't ask you with Darlene sitting right there. And I love Darlene to death, so I would never do that.
That's kind of hard to answer. I mean, when you start looking at girls, I mean, it's
No, I didn't ask you that. I asked you, when did they become a problem?
they become a problem when you start looking at them.
I mean, are you saying distracting from school?
What's that?
Is Kevin saying? Are you saying distraction from school, from sports, or just in general?
No, that didn't happen. I mean, my senior year, I dated a girl from another school. I actually met her after one of my basketball games. I mean, she was a looker, but no, it didn't distract from me playing sports though.
Look, it's kind of tongue in cheek because Rob is a notorious good-looking man with the smooth. He's smooth. I loved being his wingman, and there's nothing negative there. But I was kind of being more just funny. But yeah.
Well, the two of you rolling around, you're clearly the wingman, Flip.
Absolutely. I never. That's a good thing about that, Paul, is if you recognize it, then you can revel in it and you can capitalize on it. If you think you're the man, but you're really the wingman, that doesn't work.
No, it wasn't like that. We were LA Green's wingman.
Come on, man.
Linwood Murray.
Yeah, I love Murray.
Oh man. You know, after we finish recording, I'll tell you, if I haven't already told you, Kevin has two favorite topics, and he was trying to trap you on one of them.
Oh, I know he was. I know. I'm not falling for that, man.
I wouldn't do that to you.
Nice try, Flip.
Yeah. you gotta watch him. You gotta watch him. All right, so Rob, you're a good student. B's average is good. You're playing tons of sports. I imagine basketball was your favorite sport. Sounds like.
Yeah, it was.
But to your point, you probably could have gone farther with baseball. Did you have aspirations to play after high school? Anything?
I mean, honestly, no. I mean, I didn't. I could have done more as far as promoting myself, getting game tape and whatnot to try to take to the next level. I went to Hampton after I graduated, so I mean, I could have probably done more to try to impress the coaches at Hampton. But when I got to Hampton, I actually met the basketball coach, and I played a lot of pickup ball in the gym where some of the players would play. And he saw me and he talked to me after I played the game, and he said, "Would you be interested in coming out for the team?" And I said, "Well, yeah." I said, "I'll come out for the team. You know, I'm game for that." He said, "You know, we'd like to try you out." So that following week, I'm playing pickup ball, and I completely destroyed my ankle. I mean, ambulance came and all that to the gym. I had to go to the hospital. So at that point, I was kind of like, you know, this not meant to be. So Just kind of one of those things. And I was at Hampton for 2 years. Then I took some time away and worked, and then I eventually ended up at VCU. And not the same type of scenario, but I actually played ball with two guys. I played ball against two guys. They went to VCU in high school. Bob Reddish and Jesse Usher was there for like a hot minute, but they played for West Potomac. And I grew up playing against these guys. So Bob was like, man, you should come out for the team, blah, blah, blah. I'll talk to the coach, see if we can get you a tryout. But I was like, no, I'm not going to be just a dummy sitting on the bench, wasting my time when I need to be focused on academics. So I just played pickup ball. I mean, it was pickup ball from there on out.
Well, pickup ball in a lot of ways is more fun.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Cary Street was, I don't know if you ever played. Did you ever play at Cary Street, Flip?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Cary Street was awesome, man.
Yeah.
You talking about skill level, all kinds of skill levels. You talk about trash talk galore. Guys who couldn't play, they talked the most trash, and it was awesome, man. I played intramural ball against some of the fraternities at Cary Street. It was awesome, man. It was like cutthroat.
Yeah,
cutthroat basketball.
VCU, that whole part of Richmond is very into basketball.
It was awesome. I mean, those are some of the greatest times I had playing ball.
So when you went to Hampton, it was Hampton Institute back then, right?
It was Hampton University at that point. This was back in 87 through 89. So they had changed it at that point.
They had just changed it, maybe.
They had just changed it.
Yeah.
It was Hampton Institute. They actually called it HIU. HIU was the acronym when I was there, but we went by Hampton University.
I think they called it for a while. It sounds like while you were there, Hampton Institute and University or something.
Yeah, HIU. Great experience, man.
Was Rick Mahorn there? That was his alma mater, right?
Yeah, Rick Mahorn went to Hampton. No, he wasn't there when I was there. No, Mahorn's a lot older than we are, Flip. Mahorn's got to be 60s.
I thought, Kevin, you knew everything about sports.
60. Yeah, Mahorn's older than us, Flip.
Hey, so VCU, what was about VCU that said, hey, that's where I want to get my diploma from?
Well, I didn't. Let's start there.
Wait a minute. You put in what, 4 years of
I put in about 4 years between the two universities. No paper. But I had Dave Stowler went there. Flippen knows all these guys that I'm talking about because they're all on the golf trip. And that's how tight we still are over the years, which is the beauty of all this. But yeah, Stowler went there, so I had connections there. I had a love interest there. That was a connection there. So, and it was a chance for me to really get my independence from home. I was really trying to, become my own man and do things, not necessarily the way your parents want you to do them, but do them, be independent and show them that I can do this on my own and gain some respect. And no diploma, but I did gain their respect. And it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about hard work because the road's different with no paper.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
It's different. It's not impossible, but it's not a straight line to being successful, but there's a little loop to it, but you just got to put in the work.
You've
taught me a lot.
You've done really well, Rob, for somebody that didn't get a degree like myself.
It's hard work, man.
Look,
we'll flip you as well. I mean, it's hard work.
So funny story though. What's the first place that you worked at? It might not have been the first place, but after Capital One, you went to AT&T.
Hold on, what'd you say? It's the bakery, man.
Oh my bad. Oh goodness.
We're not on your podcast right now. We're on mine.
Ooh.
It's the bakery.
Well, it's the bakery over there too. I don't know why I slipped on that one.
Yeah.
So after the bakery, you went. I thought it was AT&T, but it was called Dominion or Bell.
I went to. It was the phone company.
Okay.
It was C&P Telephone Company. Then they turned to Verizon while I was there. So I did. When I left Capital One, I went to Verizon or C&P back in the day.
So Paul, he literally the first time I had to call that company, and it was literally I
forgot about that.
I knew he worked there, but I was just calling him customer service or something. I don't know what I had to call for. And he answered the phone. And I was like, and you knew, of course, you know his voice. I was like, Rob? Is that you?
I was like, Flip? I said, I can't talk to you, man. Let me get my supervisor.
Oh, it's crazy.
Oh, it was crazy. I mean, that's a long shot because you could have gotten anybody.
I know. That's a very long
and I'm
shot.
like, wow.
Any of hundreds of people, I imagine.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. So, Rob, you've done jobs in call centers like Kevin and I have. You've done sales. Anything outside of those two endeavors?
No, I've been in sales, man. I've been with AT&T for almost 22 years now.
That's a long time, man.
Man, hey, I'm holding on by the skin of my teeth too. I mean, we structurally we have changes every year, layoffs a few times a year. So I've been fortunate, man. I've been blessed.
Yeah,
I work hard. I work hard, man. But I've been doing it for almost 22 years.
Yeah, big companies. You suggest layoffs and they want to lay people off.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And it makes them feel good because they're not spending as much money, and then they can pile up the cash, and then they hire again, and they're like, wow, we got too big.
It's smart business. Business. Then they come back and they hire a bunch of college grads and making a fourth of half the salary. No pension, no 401k. That's a win-win for the big company, man.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, so Rob, at some point, somebody had to tell you that, hey, have you ever thought about getting into radio or broadcasting, or maybe even like doing like documentaries, like you're the guy that's the voice or the narrator of a documentary, because you seriously have a voice for that kind of thing.
You gotta hook me up. No, funny. So yeah, I've heard that a lot. I've heard it a lot. I actually did some demos. I went to a voice. I did some voice classes, and then I did put together a demo, and I was going to try to pursue that, part time. But it's a lot of work, man. You got to put in the work. Marketing, it's a full-time job. So I just never really pursued it. But I still have demos. If you guys want a copy, I can make sure I get them in your hands, get them to the right people, and hook me up.
Hey, to your point, it's a full-time job. You got to grind. You got to get.
Oh, absolutely. At the time, I'm raising a family. I didn't have time for that, but it was cool to learn how it works, the business part of it, and making the demo was awesome. You're in a recording studio, and they give you material to read, and you gotta do these different characterizations, and it was neat, man. The process was cool. I could definitely see myself doing something like that, maybe in retirement. That'd be a lot of fun.
You should. So one of the cool things that you and I have done over the last 30 years is travel. And I know you like going places. What are some of the coolest places? And I can tell you some of the coolest places we've been, but what are some of the coolest places you've gotten to travel to?
I mean, it's got to be Italy, Spain, Italy. My wife and I took a trip there, say back in 2011 or 12. We hit Barcelona, we hit Marseille in France, a few other spots in Spain, but spent most of our time in Italy. Fantastic trip. Fantastic. I look forward to going back. As a matter of fact, we're trying to plan to go to Greece early, late summer this year. So I look forward to going back. But it's beautiful, and I love Italian food. I mean, it was right up my alley. I mean, it was just awesome.
Rob, I'm married to an Italian, and
okay.
I say Italian American. She has never been to Italy.
Really? Just no desire, or it just hasn't happened?
We planned a trip, and we said we're going to go for 12 days, and we're definitely going to go to Germany because I happen to be born there as an Army guy. And she goes, I want to go to England. And I'm like, but you're Italian.
Yeah.
And I've never been to Italy either.
Hey, make it happen.
I think we're going this summer.
It's a great time. It really is.
Well, she's Sicilian, so we're going to – Sicily's not very nice, I've heard.
They don't like the Northerners.
No.
They don't like the North.
No, what?
I can tell you that.
They don't like anybody who's in the family.
Yeah, right. No, great to make it happen, man. You have a great time.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to. All right, so Rob, Kevin has a question that I think he is infatuated with, and
Okay.
asked it in almost every recording. But he's infatuated because it's a really good question, and I give him credit. I give him credit for it because it's fairly revealing of most of our guests.
Okay.
And you don't see it coming. Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah. And Paul asked this question even when I'm not on, I believe. So he must like it a little bit.
I'm a little infatuated with it too.
All right, Rob, you you may have done this before. I don't think you have, but you may have. So you're a late night talk show host just tonight, and you have to pick a male guest, a female guest, a musical group, and a comedian. It could be dead or alive. It could be a cartoon character for all we care. And you could be going for ratings or just the Rob Owens show. Just people that are your favorites. But you get one night to do it, and tonight's the night. So what you got? And I know it kind of putting you on the spot. You don't get a lot of time to think about it. But
I mean, we can give you time to think about it. Kevin and I can just talk.
I mean, comedian is probably the easiest. I'd probably go with Red Fox. I got to pick Red Fox brain. I mean, the whole Sanford and Son thing is just
that's fantastic.
It's classic. So Red Fox is a comedian. Musical group would be tough. I mean, I'm a big jazz nut, so I could name 50 million bands I'd want to interview, but probably and it's got to be entertaining. Is it my own? Is it for my own benefit? Am I trying to impress the crowd? What am I trying to do?
It's whatever you want it to be, man.
Are you trying to? Would you pick a musical group that's not entertaining?
Well, I pick a musical group that I like.
Who would that be?
I love the Yellow Jackets.
There you go.
Fusion jazz.
So Rob, let's go. We're going to do something different with the question today, Paul, because that kind of tweaked my interest. Tell us a little bit more about you being a jazz fan, because I know you're very musical and you can play, at least I know of one instrument that you play really well. How'd you get into that? And tell us about how you're still doing that.
Wow. Man, you know too much about me, Flip. Yeah, so I play bass guitar, love bass. Picked it up when I was in my teens. And funny story is that I'm going to go back to Dave Stallard. Stallard listened to a lot of, he had an older brother named Brian. Brian's like 4 or 5 years older than us. And Brian listened to a lot of what we now deem as classic rock. Yes, Rush, Zeppelin, those types of bands. And so the first time I ever heard Rush, I was like, wow, this is pretty cool, man. I like this. And I'm like, that bass player is pretty nasty. And
Geddy Lee.
Fell in love with Geddy Lee, and he's probably the reason why I play bass to this day. I mean, he's how I got into it. Fortunately, I got to see Rush play live a few times and just loved them. But yeah, I play bass, man. I love jazz. Seen a lot of live jazz. I mean, that's probably my passion. I mean, music and golf. If I could sit around and play bass all day and then go play around the golf and maybe play live somewhere, that would be awesome. Or either see live music. I mean, I would be in heaven. Very passionate about music. Everything I do, man, involves music.
I think that's why you and my sister got along so well when she was alive. She was a big Rush fan.
Yeah, I remember that. We had conversations about that.
Yep. All right.
Hold on. I got to explore a little bit. Jazz is not like any other form of music, right? Mm-hmm. It's not meant to be. It's not supposed to follow a rhythm or a pattern that almost every other form of music follows, right?
It's free form, but you've got different variations though. So you've got, I call it classic or traditional jazz, where it's very free form. Guys jump in, they play, and just make it happen. It sounds like gibberish to the outside, to a foreign ear, but when you put it all together, I mean, it's music, man. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing to listen to. You've got contemporary jazz, which is more of a form, structural type of music, but basically instrumental. Live jazz, a live contemporary jazz group there's nothing like it. I mean, when you listen to an album, you can be bored to tears, but when you see these guys play live, they're phenomenal. They're phenomenal. I mean, it's something to behold. If you've never seen a live jazz band, I mean, I'd recommend going to check one out if you like music.
Yep.
You'll gain a different appreciation.
Rob likes foreplay.
All right,
And I've met a lot of jazz artists, man. We have Foreplay's a jazz band. They're a jazz group. But I've met a lot of artists, man, because we have a big festival up here every year, the Reading Berks Jazz Fest. And I've been going to that for this will be my 20th year, actually. And all the big names come through there. It's a 2-week festival, different venues throughout Reading, Pennsylvania, and great time, man. My wife and I go, and we have a ball.
what part of the year?
It's actually coming up. It's typically late March, mid-April at the latest is when it starts. Kind of fluctuates every year. But just 10 days of music, man. It's good stuff.
So bass players, I really don't think about bass players typically, and I'm a big
no one does.
Yeah, I mean they're meant to keep a rhythm, right?
Oh yeah, we hold it down. The bassist and the drummer are the foundation of every band.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. But what I was going to say is the best bass player I ever saw was in person live was Victor Wooten.
Funny story. I've met Victor Wooten a few times. I was at an instructional that Victor Wooten gave, and I'm going to see Victor Wooten at the Jazz Fest this year.
He's unbelievably on
he's it's a different level. There's levels of playing, and Victor Wooten's not the only one, by the way. I mean, you got guys, they all rip it like that. They really do. But Victor Wooten's special. He does things with a bass you're not supposed to be able to do.
Hey, so he was in Bella Fleck's band.
Yep, Bella Fleck and Flecktones.
Exactly, yeah. And that's who I saw. Bella Fleck is Juilliard trained. He played the French horn in the band.
Brilliant.
He's brilliant. Unbelievable, right? So at some point in the proceedings or the concert, every one of the 4 band members play solos. And Bella went second to last. So I'm like, they're leaving the bass player till the end? That doesn't make any sense to me. Rob, when I tell you he finished his solo, Victor, the place went crazy.
Well, they saved him for last for a reason.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean, everyone knows. Yeah, everyone knows when you see Victor Wooten, you're gonna see something you've never seen before. He's ridiculous.
Completely. All right, back to the talk show host.
All right. So who did you pick for your jazz? Yellow Jackets. All right.
Yellow Jackets.
Your comedian was Red Fox. All right. Who's your male and female?
I mean, I got to go with. It's the boring answer, but I got to go. And these are actors, right?
No, it could be anything.
Any male or female?
Any male or female. It could be a family member.
I'd probably go with. It's a tough one. I'd go with Denzel, I think. It's kind of a boring answer, but I mean, he's a very intriguing guy. Been around forever. I think I'd go with Denzel.
We've lost Kevin.
We lost Flip. He didn't like that answer. He didn't like that answer.
No, it's a great one. I don't think it was the answer. I think Kevin's been having some technical difficulties all night. Denzel's a great answer because he's a very bright person, and his acting is he's top notch.
I've seen a dude. I mean, you see him play these different roles. You're like, is that the same guy that played in this movie?
Yeah.
Like, he's incredible. He's been doing it for a long time. Female's tough.
Well, while you think about female, Denzel playing a bad guy is one of the scariest things.
Training Day.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Scared me. Scared me in Training Day.
Yeah.
Couldn't believe that was him. And then, did you see what was the other one? Where he was a soldier
in Civil War.
No, it wasn't a Civil War movie. Was it Soldier Story?
I don't think I've seen that.
The movie. He was in that. He was kind of a bad guy in that one too.
I'll have to check that out.
Great actor, early in his career.
The Civil War story was the movie was Glory.
Glory, yeah, Glory was good too.
Oh my! He won a supporting best actor role.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. I love Denzel.
Yeah.
Class act. Right. We waiting for Flip to get back?
No, we don't need to wait for Flip. But have we given you enough time to think of a female?
Female, I'm gonna be boring again. I'm gonna say I'm gonna have to say Michelle Obama.
Okay. I don't know what she's doing now. The Obamas have been fairly quiet.
No, I think she just kind of lays back and maybe does some motivational speaking and living life, man.
Yeah, she's a very smart person.
Great person. Class act.
Right on. All right, so Rob, tell me about your family.
Great family, man. Great family. So my wife, Darlene, we have two kids. She's got two kids from a previous marriage, but I've known them since they were 4 and 7. So raised them. They're now 29 and 26. So my daughter's still local here. My son lives up in the New Hampshire area.
Do they call you dad?
On occasion.
Okay.
They call me Rob. But they refer to me as my dad. So it's cool, man. It's really neat to see how they've grown and developed. I can't believe that they're adults now. It's crazy. Time's really flown by, man. It's been wild.
29 and 26. They're adults.
They're adults. They're out doing their thing. So proud of both of them and love them to death, and it's good stuff. Good stuff, man.
Hey, by the way, Rob, I forgot that I had to let him back in, and I couldn't see it because I've enlarged the screen. And I had to say, when Flippen was out for the last few minutes, it was probably the best part of it.
So you missed all my answers, Flip. They were all cartoon characters, by the way.
I know they were. Hong Kong Phooey. No, I heard it. Denzel and Michelle Obama. And I'm down there in the little screen waving my hand at Gilman like, hey, let me back in.
I couldn't see it. Oh, I don't have the authority to let you back in. No,
yeah,
so.
he didn't let me back in on purpose. I promise.
I had the authority. I'm like, it's kind of nice to talk to Rob.
Jeez.
You guys are a riot, man.
How'd you meet Darlene?
Blind date. Online.
Right on.
Yeah, man. We it was just it wasn't random, obviously, but it was online. And I saw it and I was like, wow, okay. We had we met at a it was like a restaurant / bar down in Boston, because she's from Boston and I lived there at the time. So we met there, had danced and had drinks, and the rest is history.
Right on. And you're living in Philly now, right?
Yeah, just outside of Philly. We're up northwest, about 30 minutes northwest of the city.
Do you like Philly?
I do. I don't like the sports teams here for the most part. It's kind of tough being a Cowboy fan in Philly Nation, but and the fans here, they're not everything you hear about the Philly fans is true. Football fans specifically. The basketball fans are not like that. They're not as hostile as the football fans. Hockey, I can't speak to. I've only been to 1 or 2 hockey games, but the football fans, they're the real deal. They're nasty.
I refer to them as roughnecks, and if you look at them funny, they're ready to fight.
Yeah. Yeah, and it doesn't matter if you're male, female, kid, young, old. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Somebody will put hands on you, or they're going to say something very nasty to you, or maybe even throw something at you.
I've known a few people that grew up there, and they're our age or older, and I'm like, what's up with the? Were y'all trying to be funny when y'all came up with the whole city of brotherly love thing? Come on,
it's a joke. It's a joke.
Clearly.
It's a joke. There's no love, man. No love, but we love it here. It's the halfway point. We're kind of the midpoint between my parents and her family. My parents they're outside of Richmond. When we moved from Boston to Pennsylvania, they moved from North Virginia further south of Richmond. So I was like, we're trying to get closer. You guys are going further away, but this is how it worked out.
Where do your parents live exactly?
They live in Chester.
Okay.
Rivers Bend.
Yeah.
They live in Rivers Bend.
That's crazy.
Yeah, father, they moved there because it was a golf community. Yeah. My father's a big golfer.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the golf course went defunct, and so now it's just a community.
All right, so last 2 topics. Who's going to win the Super Bowl?
Well, if you recall, the last time I made picks on a podcast, I failed miserably. You remember that, don't you? I picked, I was a flunky. People probably like, who was this clown on this podcast making all these stupid picks?
They say that every week, Rob.
Okay, I don't feel bad then.
Yeah.
Here's the way I look at it. Do you want a clear-cut winner, or do you want a reason behind it?
I want a reason.
All right, so I think 1 or 2 things are going to happen. I think the Phillies are either the Phillies. I'm so discombobulated about Philadelphia sports and calling them the Phillies. I usually call them the Pigeons, by the way, the Philadelphia Pigeons. The Pigeons are either going to blow them out or lose a close game.
Yeah,
they're not going to win a close game. It's going to be a blowout or they lose a close game.
I think the Eagles. I wonder if the Eagles have been fully tested. Right, the Niner game was kind of over, like midway through the first quarter. They didn't get tested in the conference championship.
No, they haven't been tested. They haven't been tested in the playoffs by any stretch of the imagination. They played. They had some tough games this year, but have they seen the likes of Mahomes? I mean, no, they haven't played a quarterback like Mahomes all year. But on the flip side, the Chiefs haven't really played a team that's stacked on both sides of the ball either.
Right.
So, I mean, like I said, man, it can be ugly. I think in the Eagles' favor, or it's going to be a close game. And I think if it's close, I think Mahomes is going to find a way to win it.
If Sanders runs for 8 yards a carry on the first drive, then the game's over.
It's a blowout. It's a blowout.
Yeah. All right. Well, Rob, we got to figure out how to get your dad on. I didn't realize he lived just south of town.
Yeah, man. They've been there. They've been there for a long time.
All right. So watch this. Because I've enjoyed talking to you so much on Kevin's sports podcast and tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Next time you're down seeing your parents, we can get them to my place, record in my what I call my studio, which is kind of funny.
You want Pops live?
I want him.
You're asking for it.
I want him with my mic.
You want him live up close and personal, huh?
I mean, if we can pull it off. Otherwise, I'm trying to get him to connect online, and he may be.
Yeah, I think that stuff. I mean, he said he'd be willing to do it. This is what he told me, and I mean, Flip, you can relate to this because you've heard him talk. You've seen him in action. He said, "Well, I tell you what, I'll do it, but if I get on there, I'm not going to be filtered." And Flip, can you see him saying that?
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
And
so that's what he told. I said, "Well, no one's asking you to be filtered." I said, "They want you on there for your opinions. You love giving your opinion. I think it's a perfect match. It's a match made in heaven."
I mean, I can't imagine he's going to say anything that's going to be like off-putting to half of humanity.
I mean, I would hope not.
You never know.
But I mean, hey, he's going to be honest.
On there, and
he's going to be honest.
I don't think he said one thing that might have been off-putting. And Gilman's got he's good ability to edit things. So
I was going to say, I do have the ability to edit.
Yeah, worst case is just But no, I think he'd be willing, especially if I mean, I can. I mean, if you want to go do face to face, I can try to be there with him. That'd make him feel more comfortable, I guess.
Well, and plus, you would have some great questions for him too.
Yeah, I would know how to get him going, no doubt.
Yes, that's what we want.
Push some buttons.
It sounds like you don't always have to push the buttons. He's ready to go.
The podcast heard around the world. You might blow up, man, like you never even realized after this one.
Awesome. All right, Kevin, you got any other things you want to hit with Rob?
No, I'm just I'm happy that you came on to do this.
I appreciate it, man.
Rob's been one of my best friends for 30 years.
It's crazy.
One of the coolest dudes you could trust with anything. So I'm so glad you came on here and looking forward to many more years of friendship and more podcasts because we're definitely going to have you on that Flippin' Sports podcast again. 30
years strong and more. And Gilman, likewise, man. We don't talk, but I've known you for a long time as well, man.
I know. We started the bakery in the 90s, right?
And listen, I owe you an apology, by the way.
Me or Kevin?
You.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember the golf club throwing incident.
I don't.
You don't?
Oh, I do.
So remember you used to do the wiffle tournament?
Oh yeah.
At your house? I threw a 5-iron and almost killed you.
I do remember that now.
And to this day, I'm very embarrassed about that, man. So I apologize.
I'm pretty sure you apologized.
I want to say I'm sorry.
You apologized that day. Apologies.
Yeah, but I still feel bad about it because it was very close to hitting you in the head.
Hold on a second.
Hold on, Kevin. There are a lot of people that wish that club hit me in the head.
That's true too. But so first of all, that's out of his character. Like Rob is the last person that would throw a club, which shocked us all. But the more shocking thing that maybe the reason why Gilman doesn't remember it is because that's the same day that LA kept jumping on his back and saying, "Show me some of that special forces stuff."
What? I don't remember that.
Plus, well,
you remember it, don't you, Paul?
I remember that. Plus, we had a keg of beer. I mean, all
Yeah,
kinds
we
of
were a little
fun stuff.
sidetracked.
Yeah.
We weren't thinking clearly that day. But
Jimmy
yeah, man, I
Stevens was
apologize,
there.
Paul.
Nah, it's all good, man. But you were there at the original wiffle golf tournament.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, good time. It was a good time until I threw the club.
No,
I think he put me out.
No, I didn't.
Like,
No,
dude,
he didn't. He didn't.
like,
put
Flip, who
you
is this
out.
clown? This guy's got to go.
We were all love except for the 5-iron throw. But you weren't trying to hit me. You weren't mad
Oh
at
no,
me.
I was just throwing
No.
it out of frustration, and you happened to be there, and I was like, "Oh my god, I almost killed him, man."
Well, hey, Rob, that's how important and highly competitive that wiffle golf tournament was.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Well, Rob, appreciate you joining us tonight, man. It's always
Hey, thanks for having
good
me,
to talk
man.
to you.
It's always a pleasure, man. I always enjoy talking to you guys.
We're gonna get you back on the sports podcast a bunch.
Sounds good.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to wherever you listen to podcasts. We'd also really appreciate if you'd rate and review us. You can find us at scodupodcast.com.